Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Iconic Dollcast. My name is Sage, your host. Welcome back to another episode. I always crack myself up when I say this. Welcome back to another episode all about dolls. Today, I am chatting with Darren Sander, and we are going to talk all about the iconic Maxie doll and also Darren's fantastic career in the toy industry, which I'm very excited about. But before that, really quickly, obviously, the huge layoffs at Mattel have been circulating on our feeds for days, and it was pretty shocking. I had kind of heard something was going down at Mattel a few days before, but clearly Mattel has laid off several, I think 120-ish employees, and I'm guessing that is because they have to start thinking about the future and cutting back costs because things are going to get more expensive because that's how our country is being ran, I guess, whatever. It's pretty crazy, right? And I'm guessing they're dealing with this from a business point of view, which is what they would do. You know, Mattel is brutal. They're gonna do everything they can to continue creating and staying on top and whatever. But it doesn't make it right, obviously. And it is really wild that someone as, I guess, like, prolific? I don't know if that's the right word, but as important and known as someone like Bill Greening to find out that, you know, he was let go, like, that is pretty wild. And I guess, like, obviously people have a reason to be upset. I don't know him. I'm sure, I'm guessing he's upset. I don't know him, so I don't know. But I also want to say, like, it also really sucks for, even more almost maybe, for the people who aren't Bill Greening, who got laid off by Mattel, and no one's talking about them. So I just want to send love. If anyone listens, I have no idea. If you were affected by the layoff at Mattel, I'm sending you love, and I can't imagine how difficult that would be, just because someone like Bill Greening, guys, I'm guessing just because he's made such a name for himself, like, he is going to go on and he's going to do fantastic things. Like, I have no doubt about that. But working in such a, like, niche industry, like, I can't imagine how difficult the job market sucks, you know, in general, but like to be in like a pretty, what I would call a niche industry, like, I think a lot of these people aren't going to be able to go out and just find a job that they're super passionate about, like they would be, or they were working at Mattel. Like, if you work there, you probably love it, I'm guessing. And yeah, it really sucks all around. I don't know too many of the details other than what I've read, but sending love to everyone who, that's like, it just sucks. So I hope all those people have great jobs and ideas and plans lined up. And also, I know how difficult it can be when you just, like, literally lose your job and it's like, what am I supposed to do? So sending love their way, as well as Bill Greening. I'm sure, like, I've seen just how passionate people are, and I'm sure it's great for him, and honestly, like, wonderful for him to see just all the support he has. But I think he's going to be all right. I think he's going to do some awesome things. So kudos to him. He's fantastic. Anyways, we're going to get on a positive vibe right now. Getting into the episode, Darren Sander is here, and Darren has quite a fantastic career in the doll and toy industry, which we will definitely be talking about. And obviously, our first focus, though, is going to be Maxie. Maxie was a doll released in 1988 by Hasbro, of course, to compete with Barbie. I just think after the massive blow to Gem and the holograms because of Barbie and the rockers, Hasbro just, they decided to keep fighting for that #1 spot. Did it work? Not so much. As we will discuss, Maxie was pretty short-lived, and she also kind of got blasted off of everyone's radar when Mattel released another very similar doll called Jazzy, because they would. But we're going to get into that and so much more. As always, please follow me on Instagram at iconicdollcast or Britney Spears Custom Dolls. You can follow me on TikTok, maybe. I don't know. Never know with TikTok. Is it going to be here? Is it not? I don't know. But I'm over there at Britney Spears Dolls. And here is my interview all about Maxie with Darren Sander. Okay, my friends, today I have Darren Sander on the show, and Darren is a big doll and toy collector and fan. He's done a lot of design work on packaging for some of our most favorite dolls, and he is a big fan of our main focus today, which is our teenage fashion queen, Maxie. We're going to talk all about that and so much more today. Darren, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing?
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about Maxie, our little
Yay!
American teen dream.
Absolutely. So before we get into Maxie, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I live in California. I am a packaging designer. So I've worked at Mattel and Moose, and I currently work at Jack Pacific. I've gotten to work on Barbie, Polly Pocket, My Scene. I even got to do some of the Twilight packages for the collector dolls that I did back in the day. So that was super fun. And yeah, I love toys. And so it's been a dream come true to get to work on some of that stuff. Especially I got to work on She-Ra. That was amazing because I'm a big 80s kid. So yeah.
How long would you say you've been collecting dolls and toys? And most importantly, were you allowed to play with dolls as a kid?
Yeah, I've been collecting since I was a kid. We did have a big like giveaway when I was a kid. So I remember like all of the toys just went away and then it was me buying them back. But I was allowed to have everything as a kid. That was cool. Like my parents didn't care if we had dolls or action figures, but I liked both, so that was cool. I had a lot of Hot Wheels and Micro Machines, but I also had Barbie and Gem and Maxie, and Rainbow Bright, and so yeah, that was pretty cool. I always got to just go to the store and buy what I want. I remember walking down the Barbie aisle and just being like,
And the Barbie aisle is just not the same as it was when we were kids. It's
this.
so sad. Do you remember the first Barbie or doll you ever got?
I don't remember the first ones that I got, but I have photos. I remember, I think maybe the first doll was Madame Alexander. I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, like, because I have a photo of me with like a princess doll when I was pretty little, and it was a Madame Alexander doll. So I remember those, but I know I had Barbie when I was little, and I was pretty young when Gem came out. I think I was 5, but I know I had her because I've asked my mom about it. She's like, "Oh yeah, you got Gem and the hologram." She's like, "Oh, did I have the Misfits?" And she's like, "No, I asked you if you wanted them," but you're like, "No, she's mean to Gem."
She is mean to Jem, and we're definitely gonna. Jem will be mentioned in this episode, so glad to hear that. Like I hear from so many people, and everyone's story is different. So glad to hear
Yeah,
that
I
that
was.
was not
Yes,
an issue growing up, and I mean, obviously, it's led you to where you are today. So I'm sure your
yeah.
parents are very, very proud of you.
I was very fortunate because I know that a lot of kids don't have that luxury. But I'm glad that they're able to come back around and collect now. But I know that I was fortunate that I got to play with all those things.
Yeah, me too. Getting into Maxie. Maxie is a doll that I've been aware of. I've seen her. I've seen her out when I'm thrifting, but I didn't know a whole lot about her until I started doing a little bit of research for this episode. But I figured since you are the Maxie master, I figured you'd be able to tell me way more. So let's start at the beginning. Like, who is Maxie?
So Maxie is a teenage girl. She's the all-American teenage girl. She lives in Surfside, California. She goes to high school with her friends, and she has her teen dream boyfriend, Rob. She was created by Hasbro in 19, well, she debuted in 1988 by Hasbro. And so they had Maxie, her two friends, Carly, three friends, Carly, Ashley, and Kristen, and then her boyfriend, Rob, and then 3 beach dolls. And 1 prom doll was the first line that came out. And then she had a bunch of fashions too. And the line exploded the next season. I think they said it was supposed to make like $50 million in its second year. And then she had one more line, well, a big line in 1989, and then one more line in 1990. But then Jazzy came in 1989 and sort of stepped all over Maxie's popularity. And so Maxie only lasted 3 years, unfortunately. But she made quite a little impact.
Yeah, and I mean, let's just get to this. I mean, Jazzy is a product of Mattel, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Of course. So everyone likes to talk about, the feud between Hasbro and Mattel, and I think generally the conversation gears towards Barbie and the Rockers versus Gem and the Holograms. But I mean, this is an ongoing feud that just kept going, and it's still going today. But Maxie did have quite the line. I mean, I think I saw like there's over 100 different fashions you could get for her. There's a lot. And looking at her, I lurked your Instagram today just to catch myself up, and she was very trendy and very of the time. She's giving very DJ Tanner, like late 80s, early 90s, that kind of thing. She's really cute. And I think before I really looked into what a Maxie doll was, I always at thrift stores, I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, oh my God, so many times I've seen a Maxie doll and thought it was like a Skipper doll or a Kelly doll or whatever. So she does look similar to Barbie, but I think her main purpose was obviously to compete with Barbie because that's just how Hasbro and Mattel roll. When did you first learn about Maxie? Did you know about her right when she came out?
I think so. I remember seeing the commercials because the commercials were pretty cool because they had an actress dressed up as Maxie, and so she had like clothes and like it was all about Maxie and her like perfect hair. So she would like spin, and she had like the beautiful hair the model did, and the doll would do the same thing. And so I remember having Maxie, and I specifically remember having Perfect Prom Maxie, and then the 101 Fashion Looks Maxie that they did. And I just recently found that I have like the tube dress still from that one from when I was a kid, and then I have Slumber Party Simone's pillow. So I must have had her too. So that was a fun thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I knew about her as a kid because I watched a lot of cartoons and TV as a kid. So I'm sure I saw those commercials.
Yeah, and like you said, she did have a TV show. We'll talk about that in just a second. But overall, I want to know like why is Maxie so important to you? Because you have a full Instagram dedicated to her, and it's great. It's got all the stuff that you could ever want to know about Maxie. So what stands out about Maxie to you?
So I love Gem. Gem is my number one girl. I do love Gem. And so when I found out about Maxie, because she's made by Hasbro and she sort of came out like at the end of Gem, I started getting into her, learning who she was. And I just found that Maxie doesn't get a whole lot of love online. She's a little bit forgotten about. So I wanted to celebrate her because there's lots of fans who celebrate Gem, and Gem has a wider audience. And so I wanted to bring Maxie to everyone too, because Maxie has like an interesting backstory. She was created not to replace Gem, but she's created to work alongside Gem. So Gem was the glamorous celebrity, and Maxie was your everyday girl. So you could go into two different consumers and see, if you weren't into Gem's world, then maybe you would buy Maxie because Maxie is the American teen girl. And Maxie would have less makeup and like more everyday clothes, like you see in her fashions and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think Hasbro was like, okay, and like you said, I mean, Gem and the Holograms has a huge following. I think obviously that whole release did get overshadowed by Barbie and the Rockers, and that's pretty unfortunate. But Gem was still pretty successful, but I don't think she made the impact that Hasbro had hoped. So looking at this, I kind of feel like Hasbro took this Maxie doll and like you said, they were like, okay, this is our second attempt to make a more relatable doll than Barbie. And like you said, just way less makeup. She's just more relatable, and I think they nailed that pretty well. But I know that the Gem and the Holograms thing just caused so much issues for everyone. I know that Maxie dolls, they used a lot of unused Gem and the Hologram stuff for her doll line. Is that correct?
They used a few things. So like they reused some of the jewelry, the earrings, the necklaces, and the bracelets for Maxie. Maxie was a little bit smaller, so they took the complaint that parents had that Gem didn't fit Barbie's clothes, and they made Maxie more in line. So she could wear Barbie's fashions. She couldn't wear Barbie's shoes still, but she could wear Barbie's fashions because Maxie's feet are a little bit bigger. So you had that going for Maxie, as she could share the fashion pieces between Barbie and Maxie.
Yeah, I feel like Maxie's probably one of the first mainstream dolls that had flat feet.
Yes, I think it was because she wasn't supposed to be like wearing heels. So she would get like kitten heels and lots of tennis shoes and like sandals and stuff, but she wasn't the high fashion model that Barbie was. Because even in the 80s, Barbie wasn't a teenager anymore. She had Skipper to be the teen and Jazzy to come in and be her teen cousin. But Barbie was more in her 20s. She was a businesswoman.
Right. I think, when comparing the two, like she's definitely Maxie is definitely more comparable to Skipper rather than Barbie, just with her overall look. And you said these came out in 1988, right?
Yes, that's when Maxie debuted, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I know that, obviously, we've said this, I'm going to say it a million times, the prime reason to put Maxie out was to compete with Barbie. I know that Hasbro took a couple more steps in making these dolls a little bit more affordable too, right?
Yeah, I think Maxie was at a lower price point. So Maxie herself got a more posable body than her friends did. So she had a ball jointed torso. And then her arms were ball jointed as well. And then her legs could go out. Her friends had a cheaper body. which they would use on the beach dolls as well. And then later they did, because I think the ball joint was giving out, they did a twist and turn body. So Maxie usually got, for her higher price doll, she got a more posable body than maybe what was similar to what Barbie had. But yeah, I think they really tried to price it lower than Barbie so that they could be the competitive edge. So while Barbie was the luxury item, Maxie was still great at a lower price.
Okay, and so do you, in your mind, do you think they were successful at having Maxie come out to compete with Barbie?
I think in the beginning they were. I think Maxie did really well. I mean, she did well enough to find her name being put on like the knockoff clothes. So when it said Fits Barbie and other fashion dolls, Maxie got listed with those names. So she must have made an impact because otherwise this company wouldn't have bothered putting it on. I think the introduction of Jazzy just overshadowed Maxie in the middle of her second year. And then there's nothing you can do when someone else takes over because Jazzy looked a lot like Maxie.
Yeah, it was hard for me to tell the difference between them when I was just Googling some stuff. But Maxie she did well, and she had a TV show. Did that came before or after the dolls?
I'm not really sure. I don't remember watching the TV show as a kid. I know it was there. I've watched a few of the episodes. It's a cute show. I think Gem had a higher level of quality, but Maxie was cute. And it's interesting that they ended every episode with like a song overlay. So in that way, it was sort of tied to Gem, but music was still a big deal. But I think it only got 32 episodes, and I think they were like two 10-minute episodes that were put together, and it would be played with other cartoons maybe. But you can get it all on DVD, and it was a cute show. So I think that helped sales, but I don't know that that cartoon made an impact the same way Gem's cartoon did. I think Gem's cartoon, I mean, it was the number one children's cartoon at the time that it was on, so it was just huge. I think Maxie did okay. I think the doll sales were better though versus maybe what they were seeing with Gem, just because Mattel came in and hit the market first with Barbie and the Rockers, but they didn't know about Maxie, so they had to hit after.
I'm guessing they kept that pretty under wraps after that whole ordeal. When you say there was music, was it like music you could buy, or did it come with the dolls, like kind of how they did with Gem? How did that all work out?
No, it was just music that played on the TV show. Maxie, I think it was because Maxie was a teenager, so music was a part of her life, but it wasn't necessarily that she was coming with music anymore. I think that brought the cost down too, whereas the Gem dolls came with cassettes. That wasn't a part of what Maxie came with. She was just about your everyday life. So she listened to music, but she wasn't making the music herself.
Okay, got it. What is her storyline on the show, and like how did did they take fashions and play sets or whatever from the show and put it out in dolls or vice versa?
Not really, no. So like
Okay.
you see Maxie's room and like she has her bed, but it doesn't really look like the bed that they made for her. So that attention to detail wasn't there. But I know that from listening to Stephanie Iskander, she worked on the doll line back in the day. She had done a podcast and she talked about Maxie was originally Cindy, which is the UK doll, because Hasbro had gotten the rights to Cindy. They bought it in the 80s. And as they're developing Cindy, they're trying to bring her to the US. They just discovered that Cindy wasn't quite working because the UK wanted to be one way, but those ways weren't working for the US, so they needed to create their own doll. And so I don't know if timelines just didn't align for as they developed the cartoon, they couldn't get the stuff into it to match. And maybe they just thought because she's more of an everyday teen, it wasn't necessarily to drive sales of the bed, because if you like Maxie, then you can probably buy her bed regardless of whether or not it matched the cartoon. But yeah, and like she does like little fashion shows and you don't really see it. But in the show, she goes to school with Ashley Carly and Simone, who is Kristen. They changed her name after this first season. I think maybe because Mattel thought it was too close to Christy because Kristen is the black doll. So I think there was an issue there. So she changed to Simone because it's Simone in the cartoon too. And then Rob is in it. And then there's a few additional characters. Like she gets a nemesis named Jerry, and who's like the brunette and is always trying to outdo Maxie. But she works at the school TV station. So she's like a news reporter. She has her own little Maxie's World TV show that she puts on. So that's sort of how they tie her into all these hijinks that happen.
Oh, okay. And there's a ton of play sets that they made for Maxie, and I know a few companies kind of worked on them. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, yeah. So Hasbro made her daydreaming bed, which I think is the hands down the best bed that has ever been made for a doll. It's like a really cool iron looking bed, and my sister had one that looked a lot like it as a kid, so I think that's why I like it so much too, because it was almost like Maxie's bed was in my house for real life. And then they made the Too Cool locker, which was a locker that opened up into like a whole gym with a shower and a vanity and everything for Maxie. And then they did borrow some of Cindy's accessories as well from back in the day pedigree. So I think she had a dining room table that was Cindy's. They just changed the colors to update it to match for Maxie. And then Meritus, they licensed Hasbro licensed to Meritus, and they made a bunch of accessories. I think they made 16 play sets. Yeah, there was 16 play sets. They made like two houses for her. There was the big house that was her babysitting house. Then there was also like her little city house. And they made two cars for her. There was a like Mercedes type one, and then there was a 4x4 that came in two different colors, blue or pink. And they actually have the blue one is used in the commercial, and they had a real life one that the girls got to drive in it too that matched it. So that's really fun. And then she got like they made a horse for her that came with a riding fashion. The horse was named, I think it was named Tiffany. So you got Maxie's horse Tiffany, because every California girl also lived at the beach and then had a horse. She got like a sailboat, a shoe store. There was a family room, a party place, which was like a room in Maxie's house that had like lights and you could plug your music into it. It had a speaker. So Maxie could throw parties. So yeah, they made a lot of play sets for her.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So obviously this doll line was doing just fine for them to be able to push out that much product because everyone compares everything to Barbie, and it's like, yeah, well, Barbie is Barbie, but that doesn't take away from these other doll lines that were being released. And we got to talk about Jazzy's because I mean, again, Mattel just cannot stand to have any. I'm guessing it's because they saw that these dolls were selling really well. So
Yeah.
Maxie
Yeah.
comes out and they throw this doll Jazzy out and she looks very similar to her. So how does that all go down?
Yeah, I don't know the full backstory, so I'm guessing here, but I'm just it's like you said, they saw Maxie, she's doing well, it's threatening Barbie, and which is like no one's really ever going to overtake Barbie. She's become a behemoth, like you're not going to outdo her. But I know in the 80s, Mattel was very much like protect Barbie, protect Barbie, protect Barbie. So they did Jazzy, who is blonde. She's Barbie's teenage cousin. She's also Barbie's famous teenage cousin. It gets a little confusing. Like she's an everyday girl, but then she was also a pop star, sort of. Like there was one doll that said that she was Barbie's celebrity cousin. So she's all about her pop star life. But then most of them were she's just an everyday teen. So I don't know if she's which one she started out with. I haven't done a whole lot of research into Maxie because I'm a little angry with Maxie for taking away. Sorry, with Jassy. I'm a little angry with her for taking away my Maxie. But so yeah, so then she got like a brunette friend. She had a boyfriend, and then very similar color scheme to her like core look. Like if you saw her and Maxie on the shelf, it would be hard for a kid maybe to tell the difference. Like she got a similar like jagged logo because Maxie had like a twiggle logo in her name, and then Jazzy got the similar logo. So it's Mattel being Mattel back in the 80s.
I mean, I would argue that Mattel is still being Mattel now with that kind of thing. But one thing I will say is I think all the times I mean there's so many issues that Mattel has had with other companies, but I think most of the times where I call them revenge dolls, where they're like, well, we're going to do this because they did this. I do find that Mattel lacks in creativity when they kind of do that kind of thing. Like you said, they look very identical. It's the same thing with the My Scene dolls. I think the newest Barbies, what are they called? The Bestie dolls. Have you seen those? Of course you
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
I think with those Barbie Bestie dolls to me are I have three of them. I think they're actually horrible, and it's not because they're horrible looking dolls, but it's just so clearly their attempt to. Obviously, Bratz is having another moment right now. Rainbow High is out. You've got these LOL OMG dolls. To me, it's all three of those just morphed into one that they did. And I'm like, there's no authenticity in this at all. That I just can't get into it because it's just like, to me, it's like kind of lazy because I'm like, this is so clear what you guys are trying to do. And I feel like that's been the case with pretty much any brand that they've gone up against. And somehow Mattel just ends up coming out on top. And it just, I mean, Mattel is what it is. It's an empire, and they're great. But sometimes I'm like, Mattel is a little overrated and lazy, especially when they're doing things that are purposely meant to, take over, someone else's shine, like Maxie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've always, I think the Dream Besties are cute. I was surprised to see them. I see what they're doing. My frustration has always been instead of making Barbie cool, and Barbie was having a moment. She had the Barbie movie, like people were back into Barbie, but instead of making Barbie as she is cool, you create a new Barbie, and now she's the cool Barbie. And I never understood why you don't celebrate the version we already have.
It just seems like they're always so scared. Like they're still very protective of Barbie, I'm sure, but it's like I feel like they're also very scared to embrace who Barbie is at the heart of things. And it's very like they're always just trying to keep up with current trends. And I think that's kind of in the beginning what set Barbie apart from everything because she was so unique in everything. And she just she was very trendy, obviously, but the way that they've kind of gimmicked her into just being like very average is it bugs me. And that's not to say I don't love current Barbie. Like I'll
Right.
go buy
Yeah.
a Barbie right now for $10. Like I would love to, but it is just a kind of a downer sometimes because you look at all these great doll lines and it's just like always everything overshadowed by Barbie. And like then you look at Barbie now and you're like, Barbie's not even that great right now. Like I don't understand like how this is happening. Or like, of course, they're putting out their My Scene dolls again because Bratz is having such a moment. It's never ending. It's like like you said, I don't think anything ever will beat out Barbie. So I don't know what the constant like they're so scared of that. And it's like I don't really think you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Just trust in Barbie because there's something there for Barbie, and it's she's lasted this long, and even when she's had her bad times, she was still the number two doll. It's not like she dropped way low. It's like I think Bratz maybe beat her out for a little bit, but then she bounced back, and then she's the number one doll again. Like that's how it is. Something new and shiny comes along, and it may not do for a while, but people will return to what they know and love. And Barbie gives you a great like base doll. Like it's she was
She's
the first.
Barbie.
Yeah, she's Barbie. Like Bratz wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Barbie. Like Barbie is the standard. So it's like, and she's lasted this long. I don't think she's going anywhere. But it's like I understand being protective. Having worked there, like I get it. You want to protect Barbie,
Of
but I
course.
think the hard part is sometimes when they want to be the best, I think they don't think clearly. Maybe I don't know. It's just like they get in their own head and in their own way sometimes. And I think there's so much to celebrate about Barbie, and she's so cool and so amazing that yeah, sometimes there's just too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes when it comes to who Barbie is. And then she turns into a little bit of like, she's a little bland because she can't be anything. So sometimes her friends outshine her too, because the amount of eyes on them aren't as big as the amount of eyes on Barbie.
Right. And that's just how it is with any kind of creative business. Like you always and like let me let me just say everyone, like I still love Mattel and like Barbie's always gonna be my girl, right? But it's like sometimes I think they think too hard and it's like you guys don't
Yeah.
need to. Like she's
Yeah.
fine. She's
And
Barbie is literally forever.
yes, and I loved working on Barbie. I had so much fun, and like I got to work on my scene, and my scene was so much fun to work on because we didn't have the same rules that Barbie did. So that's what made it a little bit more fun, and I think a little bit more cool. And so I think if they could loosen the reins on Barbie sometimes, Barbie could have more fun. Like, let her have fun. She's worked so hard all these years.
I know. She is she needs to just have fun. It's time to give Barbie just let Barbie do what she wants. Back to back to Maxie. So how long did these last on shelves?
So Maxie was in 1988, and then unfortunately in 1990, Maxie was canceled. She got one final line that came out. It was the beach line for that year, Sunsplash Maxie. And what's interesting is it was ushering in a new face mold for Maxie. So that's the only doll that has a different face mold from the rest of them. All the other ones share a face mold. They can look different sometimes because sometimes they give her freckles and bring on her makeup. She can look different, but that one got a whole new face for 1990 because they were going to do, and you can see photos online of there was going to be a Rockin' Pretty line. So she was going to have her and her friends were going to be in a band. Those were reusing some of Jem's instruments. So like used Kimber's guitar, and then one of them they had Aja Shannon's guitar. And there was going to be a Skating Pretty Maxie. So she was roller skating, because obviously roller skating is always a big trend with girls. There was Babysitter Maxie, and then there was also Freewheeling Maxie, who she came with a bike and she could actually ride it. That one was pretty cool. That one actually got used for Cindy in the UK because I think what happened was they probably started tooling that Maxie already in preparation for that year. And because that Cindy uses Maxie's body. Maxie and Cindy don't have the same body. Maxie's a little more athletic and she's a little thicker. Even than Barbie, like her arms are thicker and her legs are thicker. So that body doesn't match anything else Cindy has. So I think they had already tooled that one, but they just plopped Cindy's head on it and then changed the logo from Maxie to Cindy because she's wearing the exact same outfit and everything.
That makes sense. So I mean, they scrapped the project, but they ended up. I mean, Mattel's not going to put shit to waste. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah,
makes
yeah. Oh,
sense.
yeah, Hasbro, yeah.
Or yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Hasbro.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. But either way, it's like if you can reuse the tool because tools are expensive, you're going to. And so I think it was a really cute, fun idea because her legs did pedal. Like when he pushed her, her leg looked like she was going on the thing. But what's cool is I have a couple, so I've taken her head off and put Max's head on. And it's like I have that Maxie doll that never came out because it was the outfit as they showed it in the catalog.
Are there, so obviously there's so many Maxi Dolls fashions playsets. Are there any that are more like rare than others? Like, is there any, because I assume you have a ton of shit. Was there any pieces that like were such a bitch to get or like just that in general are that you don't have that are super hard to get? What's like let me rephrase, what's like the collectible value of Maxi Dolls now here in the year of 2025?
So I think people tend to overcharge a little for Maxie. She's not super popular, but you can get them for about $20. I think that's a reasonable price to pay. There are some that are much harder to find. There's the 101 hairstyles doll that comes with the vanity. She is harder to find, so she usually goes for closer to $100. Like especially to come with the vanity and everything. Because I've even bought that, and I thought I was getting a mint box and had it opened already. I don't know that the buyer knew that because it looked like it was closed, like it was tape sealed. So I'm not going to blame them if they thought that they had a mint box one. It was all there, all the pieces were there, so it ended up, not being a big deal. And I don't think I paid that much for it because this was before the pandemic and before prices like were skyrocketing on everything. But so that one's pretty rare. She does the Meredith playsets can be hard to find because I just don't think people kept a lot of those things around. And like they made a styling head for her. I've known one other collector who has it, and I'm so jealous of them. But I'm just like, I guess I'll just drill at your pictures until hopefully I find one day. But I have never seen that one ever available. Meredith made that. And then it's hard to get somewhere for fashions too, because she had so many. And they did like a mix and match line for her. So they would be the same silhouette, but like three different colorways. So it's like
Okay.
trying to make sure. But thankfully, there's like a few other Maxi fans online. So I've been able to find some photos and like resources and stuff. So I'll mention those at the end because I wrote them down just so people can go to those to see if they don't have any version that's not on my Instagram. But yeah, so Maxi fashions can be hard to find, and some people know which ones are rare ones too. Like the style was hard to find, so it's just like they jack up the prices on those. But it's one of those things you just have to be patient and know that it's going to come around and like.
It will come around. Like literally, I cannot tell you. I'm trying to get so much better about that where it's like if there's a doll and like I consider something over $25 expensive, and it's like I do truly feel like every time I decide to splurge on something that I know will come around at a cheaper price, it always does like 3 days later. And I'm just like, shit, like I should have just waited.
I know that is happening to me too. And you're just like, of course. I paid like twice as amount, and there it is. You're like, now do I buy this one? Because it's
Yeah, so maybe I should get this one too. It's a never-ending battle as a doll collector. Outside of dolls and play sets, like Barbie, you can get her on your toothbrush. You can get her on a notebook. Did they have tons of Maxi merchandise as well?
not a ton, but she did have stuff. So she had coloring books and sticker books. Like the same people who made the Barbie ones made the Maxi ones. She got a lunchbox. She got VHS tapes for the cartoon that you could get in store, and then she also got paper dolls and a Halloween costume. I've seen photos of it's like those old Ben Cooper mask style ones with the plastic outfit. She had one of those, so she was big enough to get a costume at some point, which is a pretty big deal.
Oh, I definitely in just speaking with you more, it sounds like this doll was doing pretty well, and like obviously, if you have if you have a Halloween costume, you have made it. I think she's very underrated, is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
and underrated in the way that like no, she sold a lot. Like she was big. She may have only been out for three-ish years, but like it
Mhm.
sounds like these were very popular. Do you have a favorite one in your collection?
Yes, I have two. So I know that people can't see it, but my favorite is Perfect Prom Maxi.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
her packaging.
Yeah, so Maxi's package is really pretty. It's like a tealish blue. They did really beautiful illustrations on like the side. So like this one has Maxi and her boyfriend Rob in their prom outfits, and then there's really beautiful photography of the doll. And like I just love the colors. They're very like 80s core.
Very 80s,
And
yeah.
I think this is one of my favorite prom dresses they've ever done for a doll. I love her fingerless gloves.
Very Madonna.
Yeah,
Very cute.
so they're super cute. So yeah, I love her. And so she had scented perfume in her, and then she had a pendant. And I remember wearing this pendant as a kid and like smelling it. And most of the Maxi dolls that were Perfect Prom, she still has that scent in her, even if they're super old, it's still there.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then my other favorite one is Sunsplash. So she had the new face because the new face was just so cute. So yeah, she's usually the one that I photograph with on my Instagram page because she had like this new, fresh, young face. So she just looks super cute.
Are there any pieces like from Maxi's collection that I know you mentioned the styling head? Is there anything else that you're like, I must have this one day?
I would really love to get the the babysitting house. It's Meredith, so they made like a brown version of that house, but this one's in Maxie's color, so it's like the purple and the coral pink, and then it has the artwork to match. So I would really like that one. There's a couple like mix in of her fashion pieces that I still need, so it's like I would really love to complete that, but it's a slow process waiting for them to show up. So I'm just trying to be patient, but I have all the core dolls because they weren't that hard to get, so like that's nice. And then I was able to find her 4x4 Jeep. That took me a very long time to find, was her Jeep. That was made by Meredith. The first one I found, it didn't have it had like the stickers were peeling off. It didn't have the side view mirrors, but I was like, I have her Jeep. I have her Jeep. And then one showed up that was mint in box. And so I was like, sold.
See ya.
Yeah, got it. And then there's a pink version, and that one took me a real long time to find too. Again, it had all of its stickers, so that was cool, but it didn't have the rearview mirrors, and then they come with a cooler and a boogie board that goes in the back. So I don't have those for the pink version, but there's a doll show that happens here every 6 months called Sherry's Doll Show. Someone had the blue version, and it had the mirrors, and I was like, oh, how much is the van? I think it was $15, and I was like, sold. Now my pink one has mirrors. Yay!
Yay! Amazing.
It's those little things that get you excited. But yeah, I loved her blue Jeep because it was really different from the ones that Barbie has. Like it's very square and it's very 80s, and like it just reminds me of like the Kawasaki or Suzuki ones that were all around when I was a kid. So I was really excited to have that Jeep.
I love that. Do you have her boyfriend Rob?
Oh, of course, yes. So he has where is he? There's two
They
versions.
had to change him, right? Because he didn't match with the show or something.
I don't know. So initially he was blonde and he had rooted hair, and he actually had a body similar to Rio's from Gems. Like he had more posable arms and legs, and he was a little bit bigger. In the second season, they did Dance and Romance Rob, and his body got just a little bit smaller. And then he got a new head with sculpted hair, and he was a brunette. And I think he was a brunette in the show, but it also may have been just so he didn't compete with Ken. We'll make him a brunette so he doesn't compete with Ken. Like it may have been one of those things just to differentiate themselves even more.
Controversial opinion, I think maybe I actually hate Ken dolls with rooted hair. It never stays right. Like I don't like it unless you literally like glue it down. So I definitely prefer the molded hair for boy dolls or men dolls just because I think it's more manageable.
I prefer molded because I think you can get the hairstyle better, because the trouble is you have to gel it so much to get the style to look right. But it only really works when you have the doll hairstylists do it for like the photos. Like once it goes to the assembly line, it's so hard. And then even when you wash it and you try and make it look nice, because it's so short, it's hard to fix. So I've always been happy to have molded hair. I do like Rob's hair because it's big and it's 80s and it's a little bit longer, so you can sometimes get to look better. But yeah, I agree. I'm the controversial party too. I prefer the molded hair.
I don't know. I tried to like, I mean, I'm sure you do a lot of Barbie. Like you get an old Barbie and you want to make her look new again. And I did try to fix one of my Ken dolls from the Barbie movie. I tried to fix his hair because mine was not packaged well, or so it didn't go. It went through the assembly line and basically they ignored him, I think. And it was like Spice Girl doll hair where it was like, okay, this is like super glued down. Like this is going to take me so long. Like it's not even worth it. Not even worth it.
Yeah, so I love the Spice Girl dolls.
We're going to get into that. So that's about it for Maxie, an iconic doll. She's very underrated, but I also want to talk to you about other stuff because you're not just a Maxie kind of guy. You love dolls the way I do. You love all kinds of dolls, which is like the best. You know, I do a lot of episodes with people that specifically want to talk about Barbie, and that's great, you know, but like, there's so many other dolls out there, and you've done so much in doll world. So I know you mentioned it a little bit, but I want to talk about like the packaging design stuff that you do. I have no idea what that world looks like. How did you get into that, and like how did it start? And just tell me all about that.
So I actually went to school for like fine arts, and then I was going for my animation minor. And I did that whole process. And when I graduated, I was going to go to my master's for animation. But that's right when Disney laid off all their 2D animators because 3D was coming in. It was the wave of the future. I had one 3D class and I was like, that's not what I want. So I was like, I have to find a new career. And my brother was doing graphic design. So I just started doing graphic design stuff. And I fell into it and I did a temp job as a graphic designer at Mattel for someone who went on maternity leave. So that's sort of how I got my foot in the door because my brother was already package designer there. And so then I did that for like 6 months. And then there was no open position. So I went away for a little bit. And then a position opened actually on my brother's team. He was on the Mycene team. So we actually worked together, my brother and I, when I was there for like the first 2 years on the Mycene team designing the packaging. And it's just fun. It's a fun challenge to try and design something that's eye-catching for the consumer, but makes the product pop. And my scene was so much fun because every package was different because we were always inspired by the fashion theme that they were wearing. The first one I think I worked on all by myself was Totally Charmed. So the dolls came with charm bracelets for the girl and had all these charms that you could put either on the doll or on you. And they had like these lacy outfits. So that was the inspiration for the insert behind them. It was like all this lace pattern and it was color coded to match all the dolls. And so we just been figuring out like we got to use foils, which was super fun. We never get to use those anymore. And like you would do the blister design too. So that's the plastic box. So we would design that shape and we would work with the engineers to get those pulled and made so we can make sure that they work all right. And like I got to do foil stamping on that one. So that was super fun. And it was a really fun brand to like that was the first job I had too. So like doing all that stuff was just so much fun to learn how to do all those things. And it's really helped me over the years of my career because not too many designers know how to make like do the drawings for the blisters. And that I learned a lot when I was doing the graphic designer on Barbie because I worked on 12 Dancing Princesses. So it's like very small, but all the little plastic flowers that the princesses have, I drew all those and like I did the control art for them. So you have to draw it from all the angles so the sculptors know how to sculpt it. And like I gave all the dimensions and everything. So like that was my contribution.
That's amazing. Do you have a favorite design, a packaging design, or a design in general that you've done?
Oh god, so I've done so many now, and this is where like you I reached the point where I've forgotten sometimes that I did it. Like you're looking like, did I do that one? I can't remember. But I think one of my favorite packages was in 2019, my brother and I designed the Comic-Con She-Ra doll. So she's a 12-inch doll. She was like super posable. We wanted her to be the ultimate doll in case we never got to do another one. Like we're still surprised we got that one green light because she got a whole new, very complicated, very expensive body to tool. And I made a very expensive package. I think my package actually cost more than the doll, but it was her standing in front of Castle Grayskull. It had two turrets on either side that opened to reveal the additional fashions that she came with. And then that was in a big box that had a magnetic closure that opened. So that was just fun because I got to work on She-Ra and I played with She-Ra as a kid. And I loved He-Man and She-Ra because they were twins like us. And so that was just super cool. And then I actually got to design the 2019 PowerCon exclusive Starburst She-Ra and that package. So that was super fun. And a challenge too because they decided halfway through that we couldn't order any new fabric. I could only use fabric that we had like leftovers of existing. So it's like, and she has this insane Starburst print tape. And like I was printing fabric to match the original one, and now I couldn't do that. I'm like, how am I going to find like stars that are shiny? And like I just got lucky there was this excess of this orange fabric that had gold stars all on it. And so I used that with a shiny fabric underneath. And like we just got super lucky. And I think they used the fabric on the Barbie Rewind. One of the Barbie Rewind dolls had it, the singing one, and it was on a fashion pack too. Like I don't know what the original doll was for, but they had excess of it, and I got to do the Starburst cape, and it worked out. But so that was a very crazy challenge to be like, oh, you can only use fabrics we already have.
And I think a lot of people don't realize like how much like, obviously when you think of someone like Mattel, you're like, oh, endless resources. But I mean, frequently if you're buying Barbies as much as people like us are and looking at dolls, like you start to see that where it's like, oh, they used this print on this doll. Like they do a lot of recycling with leftover materials, which is smart. Obviously, you want to get the best out of what you have, but I think it's something that people don't realize how much work goes into something like that. Like you can't just get the exact print of something that you want all the time, and even when people are like customizing shit too, it's like very like you have to be, sometimes things aren't as exact as you'd like them to be, but it is pretty like people can get pretty creative on how they make things work. And I just say that because especially with my work on my Britney Spears dolls, like
Yeah.
so I have to really I have to look for a lot of weird things and just find something as close as possible and make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it can be a challenge sometimes. I mean, Mattel does print a lot of their own fabric, so that's cool, but you don't always get to. Sometimes your budget doesn't allow for that, or you wanted this nice fabric, but you can't afford it. So you work with the seamstresses, and there's a whole fabric department. Like, can you find a fabric that's similar that gives you the same effect but costs within your budget? Like that's always a challenge. And but yeah, but sometimes it's a fun challenge, and sometimes it's very frustrating because you're forced to use a fabric that you just didn't want to use, but it's your only option.
Right. You just got to make it work. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes though, things turn out way more creative than they ever would have if when you have to get super creative like that. And so I think it brings something special to the doll. And you mentioned your brother. Obviously, I'm going to have your brother on the show at some point soon. I think I'm interviewing him in a couple of weeks and we're going to talk about Monster High. And so obviously you guys grew up together. So I'm assuming he was a big doll fan. And so did you ever, I mean, did you work on Monster High stuff at all?
So I worked like ancillarily on Monster High. I was there when he came up with it, and like part of the he got a group of people together just to sort of brainstorm around like what we do. And I remember helping name a bunch of the characters, and like the first tagline, "Freaky just got fabulous." I came up with that, like because I specifically remember like driving and calling him and being like, "I just thought of it." I was like, "Freaky just got fabulous," because we were trying to figure out what the tagline could be because we wanted something completely different. And then I got to work on, I worked in our consumer products division for a while. So I did packaging style guides for all of our licensees to follow. And then I would approve everything globally. So I did Barbie and Monster High. So I was seeing a lot of stuff come in. Like they did, Monster High was in its heyday. So they were doing perfumes and costumes. And so I saw all the packaging for all that stuff. And then I was also in I moved on to publishing. And so I saw all the books and the magazines that they did. And they did like other countries get crazy cool magazines with toys and stuff on them. So that would all come through me. And there was one, I cannot remember their name now, but they sculpted every character from Monster High as a little figure that you could collect with your magazine. And so I had to approve all of those figures.
That's so cool, though. I mean, and it must be like nice working with your brother too. And like,
Yeah.
obviously, you guys share a lot of the same passion. So it's great to see that you're
Yes.
both in the industry of it all. And that's really
Yeah.
cool that you guys were both able to make that happen. As for projects that you're working on right now, like, what can you tell me? What have you been working on?
So I've been working on the Disney Billy Forever dolls
Okay.
that Jack Specific makes. So there have been two. Disney Store makes their own, and then they have the Insect Eye version. So that's the Disney ones that go to Disneyland, and then Jack's makes the ones that go to Target and Walmart and everywhere else. And they don't have the Insect Eye, so I do the packaging for those. I didn't create that package design, but I did take it over. And so there's 18-inch dolls, there's fashion dolls, and there's a new one coming out. I think I can talk about it because you love it. Showed it. So they have they're called teenies. They come with just a little doll with rooted hair, and she comes with a like character themed purse that you can put her in. They're super, super cute. So those I did that packaging, so that's really exciting. They're super fun. The product team that works on them loves Disney, and like just a lot of love goes into those dolls. I want everyone to know like that product team is like working hard because they're doing 3 scales of dolls and there's only 3 of them. So it's a lot of work. And the packaging is fun. I get to have photo shoots with those dolls, which is what I do with Maxie. And like, so it's nice because everyone's like, oh, like the photos look so great. Like, you could just tell, like, you really love what you do. I was like, yes, I do love what I do. Like, I get to sit and photograph dolls in cool poses. And so I work with the photographers to do all that. And it's just fun. It's like, I, whenever we have a new doll line coming out, so I get the doll, I put her in her outfits, and I take all the photos myself so I can get the pose down. And then when I go into the photo, I have a stylist with me, so helps me pose it and get the hair all right, and a photographer there, and they get all the lighting right, and like we just boom, boom, boom it out because I love thinking it through first. And I know some people like to go in and like let it flow, but I like to have it mapped out. Like that's just how I am, so we can get it all done. But yeah, it's fun. I don't always get to play with dolls like that, but photo shoot days is really fun because I get to play with dolls.
Well, and all that really matters at the end of the day is that you're doing something that you love, and it sounds like you are, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's I think everyone's goal in life, right? So like,
yeah.
congrats, you've made it.
Yeah, Jack's is super fun. I'm really happy to be there, and the people are great. Like I love working with. I work with people who are working with Mattel, so that's super fun. Seeing them all again and working with them again, and yeah, I'm just having a really good time. It can be crazy busy, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad. And then obviously you are a doll and toy collector as well. So there's so much more. So what else? Tell me, let's try it. What else do you get into?
I'll start with my other Maxi connection because like I remember buying these dolls as a kid, but I bought the Babysitter Club dolls. So these are
Oh,
fashion dolls that Kenner made in 1998. They use Maxi's body. So this is her basic body. So I sort of used them as additional friends for Maxi because we got Claudia, the Asian, and there were three other dolls. So I love those. I love 80s dolls. I really got into the Sweet Valley High dolls that Bandai made in the 90s as well. It's a very small line. So do you remember the Sweet Valley High books?
no.
Oh, so it's about twins. So obviously that's probably why I love it. And there's also the Sweet Valley High TV show, which came after the dolls. But I remember seeing the dolls in stores and walking past them all the time. I'm pretty sure I had like one or two, but now I have them all. There's Jessica and Elizabeth separately, and there's their prom outfits, and then they had a bunch of fashions too. So I have that whole set. And those can go for a lot sometimes because they're a bit rare to find because I don't think they were super popular, so they didn't sell a lot. But I've been very fortunate to find them very cheap, which is. And then of course I love Barbie. Getting to work on Barbie was a dream come true. I have a very large Barbie collection. I just got the Aaliyah. She just came.
Okay. I happened. So I wasn't gonna get that doll because I'm not a big Aaliyah fan, but my friend is, and it like so I like forgot it was dropping on Mattel Creations or whatever they're calling it now, and was like, oh man, I missed out. And then I just happened to be online when it dropped on Target, and I got it.
Oh,
I got it on there, but I don't think she's gonna ship for a couple of weeks. But
oh yeah.
she looks cute.
Yeah. I know she looks really cute. Like the face sculpt is just dead on. Like she looks great. So I'm really excited for her. And let's see. Yeah, and I have my Illy dolls. Like I love those. Like I still buy them even though I can get them for free at work, but I just love supporting the line. They're so
Support
cute.
the cause.
Yes. So I have all those and I'm looking around to see what else I have.
Oh, you mentioned Spice Girls. I mean,
Oh yeah,
duh.
I have all the Spice Girls because I was a huge Spice Girls fan. When those dolls came out, I just lost my mind. I was going to Toys R Us stores all the time to find them. I remember walking in because back in those days we didn't have the internet, so you didn't know what was coming out. Like
Right.
only the resellers really knew. So I walk into Toys R Us and they had just a wall of the Superstar collection, which was the 5-pack of them. And I just remember being like, oh my God, like being so excited by that and just loving that they made so many dolls. And so yeah, I have all those. I was fortunate enough to be able to buy the last two waves, which are the rarest waves, the Viva Forever
Oh
waves. So
yeah.
I have those out of box and I have those in box. So yeah, so I love those. And I was a little bit sad that Hasbro decided not to continue the line from Galoob. Like they did the last two waves because I think they were in development and ready to
Yep.
go. But I was kind of hoping for forever era Spice Girls and stuff too. But very happy with what we got. I do love some other celebrity dolls. Like I have the S Club 7 dolls. And I
What
have some.
about Britney?
I have Britney. Yes, I have
Okay.
Britney. So I have. I could have sworn I have the Oops, I did it again one, but I can't find her. But I do have the Lucky one in the pink dress with the her like coat, and I have one of the Pepsi ones, and then I have her tour bus playset that opens
Uh,
up. I love that. I love a good playset. I also am like a huge playset person, so I have so many playsets. I have Cindy playsets, Barbie playsets. Like Merit has made a lot of cool playsets back in the day. So if it's a cool playset, if I don't have it, I want it.
Amazing. I love that.
And of course, I love Monster High. So I have my brother has like everything from Monster High, but I have stuff. And like the new stuff is really cute. It's really cool getting to see them do all of the diversity stuff, especially with like LGBTQ stuff that we didn't get to do back in the day just because no one was ready for it yet. So
Right.
we couldn't do it. But getting to see them do all that is really cool. And then, yeah, I have She-Ra and He-Man and I'm looking behind me to see. Oh, Defa Lucy. I don't know if you know about Defa
Yep.
Lucy. Oh, I love those ones that they came out with that were very extra inspired. And then I have the collector ones that they did. I think those are so cool. It's always fun to see like a new person enter. And then I have Gem and I have all the integrity gems. That
Ooh,
was
pricey.
yeah, that was an expensive hobby, but it was Gem. I had to have it all. So it's just like do what you can to make it
Do
work.
what you can and charge it if you can't. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
And yeah, so but yeah, it's like I just love toys, and I have reached the point in my collection though where I'm like, if I don't have everything, it's okay. I can look at pictures of some of the stuff that just it's so incredibly hard to find, or you miss out because they sold out on it. It's like I will just look at people's pictures. It's fine. I can live without it. Like I have to remind myself that I have so many cool things that I have to be grateful for those and not be mad that I didn't get this one thing.
And that's a really good place to be at. I try to, I mean, I'll still buy dolls, duh. But like I too am like I'm not freaking out if I didn't get
Yeah. I
get
mean, yeah.
something.
I still get a little angry when I don't get it, but then it's like you calm down
Right.
and you get over it and you move on. And it's like maybe sometime I'll get lucky and I'll find it for a good price.
And that's a good mindset because I mean, I mean, there's so many people. I mean, and I'm sure I mean, now that we're here in 2025, doll collecting is very trendy.
Yes.
Everyone's suddenly into it, and I see so many people just panicking about things where it's like, I got to be the first one to post this, and I'm like, it's not that deep. Like,
Yeah. It's not, yeah.
everyone is going to be posting this. Like,
Yeah.
it's all good, and it's just like to see the stress that it can cause people. That's kind of where I was like, all right,
I know.
I
Yeah.
need to chill.
And it's tough to sometimes not get caught up in it too, like the excitement of it, like that new deluxe style midge. Did I take my lunch break and go to three different Targets to find her? You bet I
Yes, I
did.
did.
Did I find her? I did.
Yep. Yep. Oh my God. I got so many messages of people being like, what? How did you get that? My mom, I'm like, I just asked. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I went to three. I asked at one, and like, oh, we don't have it. But she was nice enough to tell me the other source that did. I went to one. I'm like, we don't have that doll, and I was like, cool. So then I went to the second one that they said that had it. I walked down the aisle, and there was a woman standing in the aisle holding it. And I was like, I missed out on it. I totally missed out on it. But there was two in the case, and she only took one. And I was like, oh God, I got her. Like I was like so excited, and I was like, I'm getting so excited over a doll again. Like I felt like I was a kid again. Like it sort of like rejuvenated. And then you feel bad because then another woman came and she's like, where did you get that? I was like, I'm so sorry. It's the last one. And she's like, oh, I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's mine.
Sorry, but sometimes like I mean, especially when you're not doing it like for like social media purposes. Like I had a day off when that was all going down, and I was like, "Fuck it!" Like I'm gonna spend the day, and I'm gonna go to every Target in this area. I went to 12.
Oh, I
12
only had to
Targets.
go three.
There was just a bunch, and like a lot of them were, because Target employees, they can go back and get
Yeah.
things for you. They just don't want to, and that's fine. I was just like, whatever. I have other errands that I can run in between this. And what ended up happening is like the first store I went to, which is like also the closest one, when I went there, I gave them my name and my number, and I was like, if you get these, like, can you just let me know? Like, is that allowed? They're like, yeah, sure. And so I went to 12 Targets. And I did not find one. And I was like, oh, it's whatever. Like, I'm like bummed because I went to 12 Targets, but like I got a lot of shit done that day. So it wasn't a total loss.
Yeah.
And the next morning at like 8 in the morning, they called me and were like, we got them in yesterday, like last night, and we have one for you back here. And I was like, oh, that's great, thanks. So I went and got it. And then I think like 2 days later, I went to a Target again just because I had to get groceries, and they had one too. So like you just got to be patient
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I think she's probably going to hit, she should be easier to find. It's just that thing where she's the new one and
Right.
no one knew she was coming. So it was a surprise to everyone. So everyone's out hunting for her. But I'm hoping that everyone who wants one can get one. That always makes me happy. But I know it doesn't always happen. But
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if they keep this like rare find thing going.
Mhm.
Just because I mean it's great and I'm all for it, but it does cause a lot of issues because scalpers immediately
Oh,
were,
yeah.
scooping up those midge dolls and like charging like $300 for them. And that's just kind of something any industry has to deal with, but in Barbie world it's like pretty crazy because like
Mhm.
you can, if you really want to, make a pretty penny off of some things like this, and like people take full advantage of that. But anyway, I agree. I hope anyone who wants her gets her. Darren, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate learning about Maxie and just getting to know you better because you have an incredible job and you've done all these amazing things. So please let everyone know where they can find you on the internet, where they can find your Maxie page, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. It was really an honor. I love listening to the podcast. I
Oh,
listen to it
thanks.
all the time. Yeah. It's fun listening to it because you do a lot of toys that maybe I don't collect, but it's fun hearing people be so passionate about them. Like that's the fun part about your podcast is hearing all that. And then your Britney Spears dolls look really awesome. So
Oh,
congrats on that because
thanks.
they are beautiful. I can see the love that you put into those. So yeah, my Maxi page is Lookin' Smart Maxi. So it's LOOKIN Maxi on Instagram. I do have to recommend a Facebook page that is not mine. I don't own it, but it's Maxie doll mix and match. So that's a little like fan group of Maxie doll. We just share photos of her. There's a lot of great information there too, because the admin is really great and she loves Maxie. And then there's a website you can go to that's owned by someone else, but it's called Sunny Surfing World of Maxie. And so you can see a lot of the Meredith play sets and stuff there. So you know what to look for if you want to get into Maxie.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for. I need to get a Maxie doll now, apparently. So I'll let you know which one I get. But
Yes, please do.
thank you again, and we will keep in touch.
Thank you so much.
Very cool. Thank you, Darren, so much for coming on the show. Maxie is iconic in her own way, and I loved learning about her and all about your amazing career. So thank you again so much for chatting with me. Next week, guys, is all about Care Bears. Yes, I know these are not technically dolls, but they are so iconic. And honestly, I was so excited about this and learning about them. So that'll be coming out next week. As always, follow me on all the things. That's where I'm at. Give me a 5-star rating and a nice review if you are enjoying the show. And I will talk with you guys next time.